guys, I want to share a couple of my favorite drills for muscle ups that I feel like that help most people either trying to get muscle ups or improving muscle ups. First one is hip to rings. So hip to rings sets you up for your entire movement, right? The big kip. On the hip to rings, just like it sounds, you want to focus on actually driving the rings into your hips. So you should be focusing on getting it just below the rib cage, just above the hips. When you get in this position, you want to make sure you're in a hollow body position. So you want to make sure that your feet come with you with your hips, so you don't want to hang down here. You want to make sure that you're in a nice hollow body position. You also don't want to drop the hips and lead with the toes. So a good hip to rings. So, big thing on that position is that with the hip to rings and then following it up with the transition is making sure that you're being patient. Being patient to transition. So allow yourself to ride all the way through that kip before trying to transition, or what I say, pull too early. If you try to transition or pull too early, it's just like any kind of snatch or Olympic lift, right? If you pull too early, start pulling with the elbows, probably going to cause you to miss the lift. Same thing here. You want to make sure you pull all the way into the hips and then transition to set yourself up in a better position, a higher position on top of the rings. So that's our hip to rings. Next thing I want to address is the false grip. So a lot of people, if I ask them to show me their false grip when they're doing muscle ups or learning how to do muscle ups, this is what I get. So getting people grabbing the corner of the ring and then trying to get their wrists, and then they say, well, it's really uncomfortable to hold this position. Yeah, you're on your wrist bone. It's very, very uncomfortable. So when I tell people, I tell them just to grab the bottom of the rings, and then just should be a nice little, just right there in the crease of your palm and your wrist. That's all you need. That's plenty enough of a false grip to get you from the bottom position to the next, which is the most important position, is once you get over the top, that transition. If you notice that as I transition and I pull my elbow over the rings, my wrist also comes over top of the rings on top of my hand. A lot of times you can notice if you're missing your muscle up, you could be trying to drive the elbows up, but notice that nothing happens right here with my wrist. You have to follow through with the wrist so that the wrist is coming on top, because this is your stable position, not this. Okay. So making sure, I think too, a lot of you just hang in a false grip, in a more comfortable false grip, versus trying to get your entire forearm onto the rings will probably change things up for you. The last one is the transition drill. Transition drill with a box. You can also use this same with a band. I like a box or a bench to put my feet on because it kind of gives me, one, I can use my heels to drive in. So you use the hips. You get in, just like if you were in the hanging or the bottom position of your muscle up. So this allows you to use that hip drive, so hip to rings. You can drive your heels in the ground and kind of assist you to get you through that transition to act as your kip. So from here, as I transition, I'm going to drive my hips to the ring, just come over the top, and then try to get my feet off of the box and into the bottom of that ring dip position, the transition position, without my feet ever touching the ground. So again, what that looks like. So those are 3 of my favorite drills to practice for muscle ups. Enjoy.